I woke up on Thanksgiving morning to a silent house. No food. No family. No explanation. Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe to Tales by Lope and turn on notifications so you never miss stories about family betrayal, quiet revenge, and powerful comebacks. Thanksgiving was supposed to be loud, crowded, warm. Instead, I stood alone in a house I'd been paying for, holding a truth that hit harder than any argument ever could. My family didn't forget me. They left me behind on purpose. They thought I'd stay quiet. They thought I'd keep paying. They were wrong. This is Tales by Lope, and this is the story of how being the responsible one finally learned how to walk away. I woke up at 9:12 a.m. on Thanksgiving to something that felt off. Silence. And not the normal everyone's still asleep kind of silence. This was the kind that didn't belong in our house. The Henderson home, our 6-bedroom symbol of we made it, was never quiet on Thanksgiving. By now, my mom should have been downstairs, cabinets slamming, the air thick with onions and seasoning, the smell of turkey creeping into the hallway like a promise. My dad should have been planted in front of the TV, yelling at the football commentators like they could hear him. And my brothers, Trey and Nico, should have been arguing over whose turn it was to use the good bathroom mirror. But there was nothing. Just the soft cough of the heater kicking on. I sat up slowly, my head tangled, throat dry, and listened again, like maybe my ears were lying to me. No running water. No footsteps. No kitchen noise. Nothing. Mom! My voice sounded too loud in the stillness. No answer. A quiet chill crawled over my shoulders. I grabbed my phone off the nightstand and checked it fast. No texts. No missed calls. No group chat arguments. Nothing to explain why the house felt abandoned. I swung my legs over the bed and stepped into the hallway. The floorboards were cold under my feet. I called out again, louder. Dad! Trey! Nico! Still nothing. My brother's bedroom doors were open. Beds made too neatly. Not slept in. Downstairs, the kitchen looked like it had been staged for a showing. No turkey thawing in the sink. No ingredients scattered across the counter. No cranberry sauce. No stuffing bread laid out. No Thanksgiving chaos. Just one thing. My mug from last night sitting lonely in the sink like it didn't get the memo. I walked to the front window and pulled the curtain back. My stomach tightened. The driveway was empty. All the cars were gone. My parents' sedan, Trey's beat-up truck, Nico's little coupe. Even the 8-seater SUV I'd filled up yesterday, specifically for the drive we were supposed to take to Aunt Renee's house today. For a second, I tried to be logical. Maybe they ran out for something small. Maybe last-minute rolls. Or a missing spice. But the house didn't feel like people who stepped out. It felt like people who left. I went back to my phone, heart thumping now, and opened my contacts. And that's when my blood ran cold. My mother's contact, gone. My father's, gone. Trey, gone. Nico, gone. Even my cousin Jalen, gone. I blinked hard and scrolled faster, like maybe my phone was glitching. But no. They were deleted. What the heck? I whispered. Then I remembered. Last night, Jalen had asked to use my phone. Big sis, let me check the score real quick. My phone's dead. I'd handed it over without thinking. He was 21 and still couldn't keep a charger around, and I didn't even judge him because, well, that was just Jalen. Now I understood. He deleted the contacts. But he didn't block numbers. And I still had call history. Plus, I knew Aunt Renee's number by memory. My hands shook as I typed it in. I pressed call. It rang twice. Then, hello. Her voice was bright, cheerful, relaxed. Like my world wasn't crashing. Aunt Renee, I said quickly. It's Imani. Where is everybody? Silence. Not the dead kind. The guilty kind. Imani, she said slowly. Oh, yo, still home. The way she said it made my stomach drop so hard it felt like I couldn't breathe. And then I heard something in the background. Not a TV. Not a kitchen. Waves. Waves crashing like someone was near an ocean. And faint music, the lazy, plucky sound of a ukulele. Where are you? I asked, already knowing it wasn't her house in Maryland. She exhaled like she'd been forced into honesty. Well, Your parents wanted to do something special for their anniversary. A surprise trip. A surprise trip. For who? My voice came out sharp without me meaning it to. Another pause. They all flew to Aruba late last night, she admitted. I gripped the counter so tightly my knuckles went white. All of them. I repeated. Aunt Renee's voice dropped lower, like she didn't want whoever was around her to hear. They thought you were busy with work, she said carefully. And they didn't want you stressing about the cost. The cost. That word hit me like a slap. Because I knew exactly who had been stressing about the cost for years. Me. Me paying bills. Me covering gaps. Me being the responsible one. Before I could speak again, I heard a voice in the background, sharp and annoyed. Nico. Are you talking to her? I thought the whole point was leaving her behind so she wouldn't ruin the vibe. My chest went tight. Aunt Renee hissed. Shh! But it was too late. I'd heard enough. I ended the call. The kitchen felt colder than before. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't we forgot to wake you. This was a plan. They deleted my contacts. They moved in silence. They left me behind on Thanksgiving, like I was some extra piece of luggage nobody wanted to carry. My eyes drifted to the refrigerator calendar where I'd circled the day in black ink. Thanksgiving, Aunt Renee's. Under it, in my handwriting, was the list of things I'd done to prepare. Clean guest bathroom. Gas up SUV. Pick up wine. Buy dessert trays. I stayed at it and felt something inside me settle into place. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just stood there in the quiet, in a house I'd been helping hold together, and felt a clean, sharp clarity slice through me. I wasn't confused anymore. I wasn't hoping for an explanation. I was done. And the craziest part, they thought I'd stay done quietly. They thought I'd wait. They thought I'd keep paying. I sat at the empty kitchen table, staring at my mug in the sink, the only proof I'd even existed in this house last night. And slowly, every sacrifice I'd made over the last 5 years began replaying in my head, one after another. Not with pain, with precision. Because now, it wasn't heartbreak taking over. It was cold, undeniable accounting. And the moment I finally understood what I was to them, I started thinking about what I was about to become. I stayed at that kitchen table for a long moment, not moving, not blinking much either, like my body needed time to accept what my mind had already confirmed. The mug in the sink was still there. The calendar still mocked me. And the silence felt personal now. 5 years. That number rose in my head like a neon sign. 5 years of me being the quiet support beam while everyone else treated this house like a hotel with free service. I wasn't always like this. I wasn't born the responsible one. That title got pinned to me the way families pin chores on the person they know won't say no. I was 21 when I moved back home after finishing community college. I had plans. Small, practical plans. Save money, move out, start my life. Then my father sat me down at the dining table, the one we only used on holidays, and put on the voice he saved for serious things. Imani, we're going through a tight season, he'd said. My mother sat beside him, eyes already glossy, head tilted like she was about to cry on cue. The mortgage is behind, she whispered. Just temporarily. We just need help until we stabilize. It sounded reasonable back then. They didn't ask for everything. They asked for a little help. But a little help has a funny way of stretching when people get comfortable living off your back. My dad's paycheck, he claimed, wasn't enough anymore after changes at work. Yet somehow, he never stopped buying the things he loved. Fishing gear, sports packages, new tools for the garage. A hobby he called collecting, which was really just buying shiny things and calling it a personality. Meanwhile, the real numbers lived inside my bank account. Our monthly mortgage was $3,150. 4 years, my parents paid around $950, and I covered the rest. $2,200 a month. Every month. Like clockwork. Because if I didn't, the house would suffer. And if the house suffered, I'd be blamed for not helping the family. I pulled out my phone and opened my calculator, my fingers steady now. $2,200 times 60 months. I stared as the total blinked back at me. $132,000. $132,000. Not invested. Not saved. Not put toward a condo in my name. Just poured into a household where I had the least power and the most responsibility. I leaned back in the chair, my chest tight, not from emotion, but from the way the truth sat heavy and undeniable. And the thing that made it worse, my brothers weren't suffering. They were thriving. Off me. Trey, at 30, was supposed to be the hustler. The one always talking about big moves and entrepreneur mindset. 2 years ago, his little business idea collapsed after he blew through $28,000, money my parents magically found to support his dream. Yet somehow, nobody found money when I needed relief. Trey lived at home rent-free, ate like a king, and walked around like he was doing us a favor by existing. And Nico was 24, my mother's golden boy, the one whose mistakes got called phases. He attended Lakeshore University, a private school with tuition that made my stomach hurt just thinking about it, somewhere around $42,000 a year, plus all the extras my mother insisted he needed. A car note, a wardrobe, fraternity dues, and when I once asked why Nico couldn't get a part-time job like I did in college, my mother had frowned like I'd insulted her. Because Nico needs to focus, she said. We're not going to distract him with struggle. Distract him with struggle. I swallowed that sentence for years. I swallowed so much, my throat learned to live with the burn. And then there was Jalen, my cousin, the same one who borrowed my phone. He wasn't evil, just loyal to the wrong people. He wanted their approval so badly, he'd do anything to earn it. Even deleting my contacts like I didn't deserve to call my own family. That's what they saw me as. Not a daughter. Not a sister. A resource. A walking direct deposit. The numbness started to fade and something else took its place. Something colder, quieter, sharper. Not rage. Rage was messy. This was decision. I stood up, pushed my chair neatly, and walked to the smallest room in the house, my office. Really, it was the leftover bedroom nobody wanted because of the water stain on the ceiling and the draft that never fully went away. I opened the bottom drawer of my filing cabinet and pulled out what I'd been keeping for years. A thick binder. 3 inches of paper that held my entire life of sacrifice. Receipts. Bank statements. Warranty cards. Proof of every appliance, every repair, every upgrade I'd paid for while the rest of them just used and complained. I carried it back to the kitchen table like it weighed nothing, but it did. Not physically. Spiritually. I opened my laptop. And I didn't search flights. I didn't check social media. I didn't write a dramatic message. I simply typed, emergency moving company holiday service. Most places were closed. Then I saw one listing that advertised premium same weekend relocation. The price was outrageous. I smiled. Worth it. I called. A man answered, voice professional. Elite relocation. This is Darren. Hi, I said calmly. I need to move out of my current residence tomorrow morning. There was a pause. Tomorrow. It is a holiday weekend. I know. Our holiday rates are. That's fine. Another pause. Then his tone shifted into business mode. We can do 8 a.m. if you're serious. I'm serious. I gave the address. Booked it. Hung up. Then I looked around the kitchen. The high-end washer and dryer I bought last year because Nico called the old ones disgusting. The smart refrigerator I bought when ours died during a summer heat wave and my mom panicked like the world was ending. The espresso machine Trey used every morning like he was a CEO, without ever buying a single bag of coffee. All of it purchased in my name. All of it paid for with my money. They didn't want me on their tropical anniversary trip because of the expense. Fine. Let's talk about expense. I opened another tab and searched for apartments. Not something luxurious. Something mine. A quiet, clean studio within driving distance of my job. I found one that offered immediate move-in, if you paid an extra fee. I paid it. I scheduled the lease signing for the next day. Then I created a list. Not a revenge list. An inventory list. Item by item. TV. Fridge. Washer. Dryer. Wi-Fi system. Dining set I bought when my parents embarrassed me by serving guests on wobbly chairs. Even the area rugs. Everything. I sat back and whispered, almost amused by how calm I felt. They had gone for a week. A week of sun and sand. A week of thinking they'd won. A week of believing I'd stay home like a neglected pet and keep the lights on for them. But when they came back, they weren't coming back to the same house. They were coming back to the cost of their choices. And for the first time in a long time, I felt powerful. The moving truck pulled up right at 8:03 a.m. the next morning. I stood in the driveway with my binder tucked under my arm, the early air sharp against my skin, watching 3 men in matching navy uniforms step down from the truck. The logo on the side read Crown Line Holiday Relocations. Holiday service. Triple the normal price. Worth every cent. Morning, the foreman said, clipboard in hand. You ready? I nodded once and unlocked the door. Let's start in the living room. Inside, I didn't hesitate. I pointed directly at the massive screen mounted on the wall. That TV comes down first. The foreman raised his eyebrows. That's a big one. 7 to 5 inch, I replied evenly. Bought it with my performance bonus last year. I flipped open my binder and showed him the receipt. Date, amount, my name printed clean and unmistakable. Bracket stays, I added. It came with the house. No drama, no raised voice. Just facts. The movers worked quickly, disconnecting cables and lowering the screen with practiced precision. Within minutes, it was wrapped in thick moving blankets and rolled toward the truck. I walked through the house with them, not like someone losing a home, but like someone reclaiming one. The washer and dryer were next. I bought those after my brother complained the old ones were embarrassing, I said, almost amused by the memory. One of the movers chuckled softly. In the kitchen, the foreman paused in front of the refrigerator. 4-door smart fridge, he said. That's going to be tight. It's empty, I told him. Water lines already disconnected. I had spent the night tossing perishables, packing what little food I was keeping into coolers in my car. I was thorough, intentional. They eased the fridge out, leaving a hollow space behind. Years of dust clung to the wall where it had been, and a faded magnet dropped to the floor. A postcard, some tropical sunset, from a family trip I hadn't been invited on. I stayed at it for 1 second, then stepped over it. The espresso machine went next. I watched it disappear into the truck, remembering how Trey and Nico used it every morning like it was their birthright, leaving mugs everywhere, never replacing the beans. The Wi-Fi system followed. All nodes, I said, pointing them out room by room. The system that powered Trey's job searches and Nico's online life. Piece by piece, the house shed everything that belonged to me. The movers barely asked questions. I barely needed to answer. No, that stays. Yes, that goes. Careful, fragile. By noon, the truck was half full, and the house felt different, lighter, hollower, as if the expectations that had weighed me down were leaving with every item loaded. The foreman announced a lunch break, and I nodded. While they ate in the truck, I walked through the house alone. My footsteps echoed now that my rugs were gone. The living room wall looked naked without the TV. The kitchen felt cavernous without the fridge. This wasn't destruction. This was separation. By mid-afternoon, everything on my list was gone. I signed the paperwork in the driveway. Delivery address, the foreman asked. I gave him my new studio apartment. Lease active. 3 months paid up front. When the truck pulled away, I went back inside one last time. The emptiness didn't hurt. It felt clean. I pulled out my phone and recorded a slow walkthrough. Walls, floors, door frames. No damage. No scratches. No holes. Evidence. Just in case. Then I made calls. Power company first. Yes, I said calmly. I need to cancel service at 742 Brookstone Drive. The representative confirmed the account, my name, and scheduled shut-off within 48 hours. Water next. Then internet. Each call took less than 10 minutes. Each representative sounded indifferent. By early evening, every utility tied to my name was scheduled to be disconnected. Before my family returned. Before the fantasy ended. Night fell. The house went dark except for a single lamp I left plugged in. I showered in the empty bathroom, dried off with the one towel I'd kept, and slept on a blanket on the floor of my old room. In the morning, I loaded my remaining bags into my car. Nothing I truly owned was left behind. In the kitchen, I placed my keys neatly on the counter. Beside them, I stacked the unopened utility bills I'd collected from the mailbox. All addressed to my parents. All services they'd enjoyed without ever managing. I took one last look around. 5 years. Thousands every month. I locked the door from the inside, stepped out, and shut it behind me. The click echoed. Satisfying. As I drove toward my new place, I checked the date. 6 days until they came back from paradise. I was sitting at the small dining counter in my new studio apartment when my phone buzzed. Not a call. A notification. From an app I'd forgotten to delete. The doorbell camera. I turned the volume up and leaned back in my chair, coffee warm in my hand, just as the video feed came to life. They were home. My parents appeared first, dragging oversized suitcases up the front walk. Their skin was darker from sun and salt, shoulders slumped from travel. My mother clutched a souvenir bag shaped like a seashell. Behind them came Trey and Nico, still wearing bright vacation shirts like they hadn't fully returned to reality yet. Jalen followed last, a plastic lei hanging loosely around his neck. My mother laughed as my father struggled with the key. "Don't forget," she said, cheerful and tired. "The light switch sticks." The door finally opened. They stepped inside. I counted silently. 3, 2, 1. "Mark," my mother's voice echoed through the speaker. "The lights aren't coming on." My father muttered something and walked deeper into the house. A few seconds passed. Then, "Nothing's working," he called back. "The power's out." My mother's tone sharpened. "Did you forget to pay the bill?" "What?" he snapped. "You handle that." I smiled into my mug. Trey pushed past them, flashlight already on, sweeping the living room. "Dad," his voice cracked. "Where's the TV?" The beam jerked wildly now. Empty wall. Base space. Silence. Then chaos. "What do you mean the fridge is gone?" Nico yelled from the kitchen. My mother rushed back onto the porch, panic all over her face. "Someone broke in," she gasped. "Mark, call the police." My father's hands shook as he dialed, explaining to the dispatcher that their home had been robbed. Trey paced, then suddenly stopped. "The camera," he said slowly. "We can check the footage." Of course he would think of that. I watched closely. I knew the exact second he found the video. His face drained of color. "She took it," he whispered. "She took everything." They crowded around his phone, watching me on screen, calm, organized, directing moves as my belongings were carried out. My name came out of my mother's mouth like it tasted bitter. "Why would she do this?" Nico scoffed. "I told you she was acting weird." My father's jaw tightened. "She can't do this," he growled. "This is our house." I set my phone down and walked to the window of my apartment. Outside, the evening sky was painted in soft orange and violet. The city hummed below, real, alive, indifferent to my family's shock. My phone started ringing. Unknown number. Again. And again. I picked it up once just to look. 47 missed calls in 8 minutes. Then the text came. "Imani, call me right now. The house was robbed. This isn't funny. We need to talk." I turned the phone face down. 10 minutes later, I heard tires screech outside my building. I looked down just in time to see my father's car double park as they all spilled out, frantic and furious, trailing 2 police officers inside. My intercom buzzed. "Ms. Johnson," the building attendant asked. "There are officers here requesting to speak with you. Your family is with them." I inhaled slowly. This was the moment. "Please tell the officers they can come up," I said evenly. "Only them." The knock came a few minutes later. 2 sharp reps. Official. Controlled. I opened the door. The younger officer spoke first. "Your family claims you removed property from their home." I stepped aside. "Please, come in." The studio was small, but immaculate. My TV fit perfectly on the wall. The espresso machine gleamed on the counter. Everything that was mine looked exactly where it belonged. I poured coffee while they looked around. Then I reached for the binder. "This should clarify everything." The officer flipped through the pages. Receipts, bank statements, warranties, all in my name. He paused, then nodded. Everything appears to be legally yours. He looked up at me, something like respect in his eyes. Do you want to file a harassment report? I thought about it. About 5 years of being ignored. Used. Left behind. No, I said. That won't be necessary. He closed the binder. We'll handle it. I didn't walk them out. I didn't need to. Through my open window, I heard the explanation delivered clearly. It's a civil matter. She provided proof of ownership. You need to leave. Door was slammed. Engine started. Silence returned. And this time, it felt earned. 3 weeks passed. Not quietly for them, but peacefully for me. I was in the produce aisle of Oak Ridge Market, debating between 2 kinds of apples, when I felt it. That familiar pressure. Eyes on me. I looked up and saw them. Trey and Nico, standing near the organic section like they'd rehearsed the encounter. They looked different. Not broken. Just exposed. Trey's designer jacket was wrinkled, his confidence worn thin. Nico's posture, once careless and entitled, had folded in on itself, like life had finally introduced itself properly. This isn't funny, Nico said sharply as I reached for the apples. Mom's been crying nonstop. I placed the bag in my cart. You need to fix this. I didn't respond. Trey stepped into my path. His voice dropped, almost pleading. Just turn the internet back on, he said. I've got interviews lined up. How am I supposed to apply for jobs without Wi-Fi? I looked at him. Really looked. A grown man in his late 20s still expecting his older sister to fund his adulthood. You're 30, I said calmly. Figure it out. I pushed my cat around them and walked away, their frustration dissolving into the hum of the store behind me. 2 months later, a manila envelope arrived at my door. A small claim summons. They were suing me for $4,200, emotional distress and stolen property. I laughed once. Not because it was funny. Because it was predictable. The courtroom was small and smelled faintly of old paper and disinfectant. My parents sat across the aisle, stiff and silent. Trey and Nico didn't show up. The clerk called the case. My father spoke first, launching into a speech about family duty and how I had abandoned them. When he finished, the judge turned to me. Your response? I didn't speak. I placed the binder on the desk. The sound it made was final. Page after page. Receipts. Statements. Proof. The judge leaned back. These items are legally hers, he said firmly. And I see here she contributed over $2,000 monthly toward your mortgage for several years. He closed the binder. Case dismissed. No argument. No appeal. 4 months later, I sat on my balcony as winter light filtered through the city. My studio wasn't big. About 420 square feet. But every inch belonged to me. No shared bills. No silent expectations. No guilt disguised as love. My phone rang. An unfamiliar number. I answered out of curiosity. It was my uncle. The house is gone, he said gently. Foreclosed. I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. They'd moved into a cramped rental. My father finally found a full-time job. My mother sold jewelry online. Nico transferred to a public college. Trey was still figuring things out. Consequences. My phone buzzed again. A message. From Trey. Hey sis. Got an interview coming up. Any chance you could be a reference? I stayed at it for a moment. Then blocked him. I set my phone down and took a sip of coffee. Strong. Rich. Mine. Once, silence felt like abandonment. Now, silence was freedom. For the first time in my life, it belonged to me. If you've ever been the one carrying everyone else, the one who gives and gives until you're empty, tap subscribe, like this video, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. You're not alone here. Sometimes the loudest revenge isn't shouting. It's silence. It's walking away. It's finally choosing yourself. This wasn't about punishment. It was about freedom. Thank you for listening to Tales by Laura. And remember, when people mistake your kindness for obligation, it's okay to take your power back. Comment below, would you have done the same? Until the next story.